All right, for 8th grade, we are on 9.1.1 titled How Are the Angles Related? And I'm starting out here because there is a lot of stuff that I kind of want you to see on the screen while I'm talking. So we're talking about angle pair relationships in this lesson, and we went over 9-1 on the Google Meet, so I'm not going to go over too much of it. But it's talking about the arrowheads at the end, like what I talked about during the Google Meet, how the arrows on the end show that the line goes on indefinitely. And that the arrows on the inside, if they're matching arrows, that means those two lines are parallel, so they'll never intersect. And then, of course, this small box right here shows that that's a 90-degree angle. So if you ever see a little box in between two lines, that means that those form a right angle. Okay, so we're just gonna review really quickly. Here's what we looked at this morning with the Google Meets. We had figure 1 and figure 2, and we knew figure 1, these two lines, S and T, are parallel, and we can see that by those little two arrows on both lines. And it's being cut by this R, and that's called a transversal. So that R is a transversal. Over here, we have line X and line Y. Those are not parallel. Obviously, if they kept going, they'd cross over here. So that means they're not parallel. They're being crossed by this W, this line called W, and that's also called a transversal. Okay, so any line that cuts through two other lines is called a transversal. Okay, so I'm going to show you my paper because we kind of did this already. So it wants you to trace, for part A, wanted you to trace angle A and then slide it over C and compare it. So I did that on my paper right here. So that's my very lovely angle A that I traced, and then I put it over. Let me see if I can make this work here. Yeah, so then angle A over angle C, you'll notice that angle A completely covers angle C. So angle A and angle C are congruent, but you can say congruent, you can say the same, doesn't matter. So then for part B, it says trace a copy of angle B. So here's angle B. There's my tracing that I did, and then put it over angle D. So then I put, sorry, you're getting close up. Here's B and then here's D, and it looks exactly the same again. So B and D are equal. So angle B and angle D are equal. Let's look at part C. Trace a copy of angle E and place it over angle G. So that's on the other figure. So let's see what I did for the E. I copied it and put it right there. So there's angle E, and then G is down here. Uh-oh. They look not the same, okay? Because G is right there, and there's E. Not the same. So I put angle E is bigger than G. And for part D, it wanted us to do F over H. So here's angle, here's angle F. Let me try and get, where's F? There it is. Eek, right there. Where am I? Hello. Sorry if I'm making you dizzy. There's angle F, and then angle G. No, angle H. Sorry, I'm like looking all over the place right now. You get the idea. Angle F over angle H, you'll notice they are also not equal. F is smaller than H. So then for part E, we went over this on the Google Meet. So I put, if it says, summarize our findings. So if the angles are congruent or equal, then the lines must be parallel. And if the two lines are parallel, then certain pairs of angles must be equal. So like figure 1, these lines have to be parallel in order for some of these pairs of angles to be equal, because we saw over here that nothing was equal over here, because those lines aren't parallel. So that was the point of that problem, was to figure that out. Let's look at 9-2, and it has the resource page, which we're going to in a minute, and it says you're going to find the figures below on the resource page, and it says each figure below shows a pair of parallel lines P and Q, which are intersected or cut by a third line M. Line M, often called a transversal, forms several angles at each point of intersection with P and Q. If you need help with some of the vocabulary from a previous course, see the math notes box. There are a lot of math notes for this lesson because there's a lot of terms that we need to know. We might make a list of them later on, but be prepared for that. Oops, sorry, I put my finger in front of the camera. Okay, so for part A, it says use what you know about straight angles to calculate the measures of these angles. B, D, F, K, R, and S. So I think I might, I'm going to take you to the plan table. This is the plan table. So it wants us to figure out, let me get my paper one more time. Oh no, it's right here. It's right under me. What am I doing? So let's see. Let's look at figure 1. Oh my gosh, where did my paper go? There it is. Got it. Everything's okay. All right, figure 1. So it wants us to find angle B. So here we are. We have angle A is 107, and then here's angle B, and we were trying to figure out angle B. So how could we figure that out? And actually, this is angle A and angle B are actually called a certain name, and they're called supplementary angles. That means their total adds up to 180 degrees because look, they're on a straight line, right? So if I took the whole angle right here, that would be 180 degrees. But I want to find B. So if A is 107, so if that's 107, I want to find B. And if the whole thing is 180, well, we can find the difference between 180 minus 107 and get our angle B, which is 73 degrees. So angle B is 73. Let's look at D and E. It wants us to find D this time. So now here's E, here's D. Looks like the same idea. We've got supplementary angles, so we know this one. We don't know this one, and both together total 180. So we have the 73, but now we need for D, which is the same as A, right? Because 73 plus 107 is 180. So angle D, I'm going to start writing these in here. So that's 73, that's 107 for D. Okay, moving on to F and G, which are over here. So let's look at F and G. So it looks like, again, they are supplementary, because if you added up F and G together, you'd get 180, because there's a straight line. So 180 minus 152 is 28. So F is 28 degrees. Now let's look at K and J. So here's K and J. Oh, it looks like the same pattern going on. If J is 28, F is 28, G is 152, K has to be 152. Okay, again, those are supplementary angles, J and K. All right, R and N, where's R and N? Oh, they're down here, haha, figure 3. So now we have R, we have N, and it looks like once again, we've got supplementary angles, N and R. So the whole thing is 180, but we only have 41. So we need to subtract 180 minus 41, which gives us 139. So R is 139 degrees. Then it says S and T, and once again, here we go, same pattern. If the T is 139 and the S needs to equal 41, correct? Correct. All right, so those were all examples of supplementary angles. So that's one of the terms we need to remember. Okay, so now it says for part B to compare. And I believe, let me just look real quick. Sorry, I'm taking you over. Keep in mind that lines P and Q must be parallel as you complete these next directions. Okay, so in figure 1, compare the measures of A and D, and then compare the measures of B and E. Okay, so I'm just going to show you my summary of stuff that I wrote. We're just going to summarize what we saw. So A and D, for that first bullet point, I put A and D are congruent. Congruent just means equal. And B and E are congruent. Okay, you're going to notice quite a pattern here. F and J are congruent. G and K are congruent. And then N and S are congruent, and R and T are congruent. So that's, I was looking at this. So look, A and D, that A right here is equal to that D. F and J, where's F and J? F and J are congruent. G and K are congruent. N and S are congruent. And R and T are congruent. Okay, that's important to know. So now it wants us to make this conjecture or a statement about what we are noticing as a pattern here. So it says if two parallel lines, and this is in your book, if two parallel lines are cut by a transversal, then pairs of corresponding angles are, I put congruent, or equal. So if two parallel lines are cut by this transversal, so like these ones, then pairs of corresponding angles, so this is a corresponding angle and that's a corresponding angle pair. This one corresponds with this one. Same with the F and the J, those are corresponding. G and K are corresponding. N and S are corresponding. T and R are corresponding. So that's another term we need to know as corresponding angles. Okay, back to the book, 9-3. So here's where it's explaining what a corresponding angle is, so I would read that. There's our conjecture, and we already did it. And now here we go. 9-3. Now we're going to use what we know about straight angles and vertical angles, which are actually down in this lesson, and we're going to go over them right now. Whoops. Yellow. Going down. Okay. Let's go over adjacent real quick. So an adjacent angle are angles that have a common vertex and share a side. So C and D right here, C and D would be adjacent. They're right next to each other. D and G would be adjacent. F and G, C and F. Okay, so those are adjacent. Vertical are the opposite. So C and G are vertical angles. D and F are vertical angles. They always have equal measure as well, those vertical angles. Okay, so now we know what a vertical angle is. So let's go back up here. Oop. There we go. Use what you know about straight angles and or vertical angles in your results from the previous problem to find the measures of angle C in figure 1, H in figure 2, and W in figure 3. And then compare the measures, and we'll do that in a sec. So let's go to A first. So A wants us to figure out C, H, and W. Where are we? Where the heck is C, H, and W? Is that it? Where did I get C, H, and W? Hold on a sec, guys. Use what you know about straight angles and vertical angle C. Oh, I know what it means. Jeez. Wow, took me a while. All right. So we want to find this angle C. I wish you guys were here to like yell at me about, Miss Beck, it's right there. Okay, so what do we know about angle C? Well, it's a vertical angle with angle A. So they're vertical, they're opposite each other, and they have to be equal. So C has to equal what A is. So C is 107 degrees. Then what about H in this one? Well, H is a vertical angle with F, so they have to match. So that's 28 degrees for H. And then W is here, and it's a vertical angle with N, which is 41, so W has to be 41 degrees. Okay, now we're coming back over here. Part B says, compare the measures of the following three pairs of angles. So it says the measure of angle C and the measure of angle D, and then we'll go over it. How are they related? So we're going to look at how they're related. So measure of angle C, let's look at C, 107, and then D. Oh, they're the same. So the measure, I would write the measure of angle C is 107, and the measure of angle D is 107. So whenever there's that M in front of that little angle sign, that just says the measure of. Okay, let's look at H and J. So H is here, and J is here. They both equal 28, correct? Here's angle J and here's angle H. So once again, they are the same. And then the measure of angle W and the measure of angle S. So here's S and here's W. So they're also both the same. They're both 41 degrees. So I put that each of those pairs of angles are congruent. They're equal. So now it wants us to write another conjecture or a judgment statement that reads, sorry, you're rereading it already, but if parallel lines are cut by a transversal, then alternate interior angles are congruent or equal. So look at that term, alternate interior angles. So let's look at those. That would be C and D. Those are alternate interior. H and J, alternate interior. You'll see how they're inside the parallel lines, but they're on opposite sides of the line. And then, where was I? Oh yeah, W and S. S and W. They are also alternate interior angles. So they're going to match and be equal, always, if they're parallel lines being cut. All right, let's look at 9-4, and I think I'm going to take you back really quick. Sorry if I'm making you sick. It'd be nice to put these on note cards. Maybe we should do that. Okay, so 9-4, the last problem. Use figures 1 through 3 on the resource page from the last problems. So it says, A, examine the pairs of angles B and D, G and J, R and S. If you add the measures of each pair, what do you observe? Write a conjecture about the two angles on the same side of a transversal and between two parallel lines. These are called same side interior angles. So let's look at those. So B and D, let's see, B's here, D's here. So 73 plus 107 is 180. So B plus D is 180. G and J, if you add them together, 152 and 28, you get 180. So G plus J is 180. And then R plus S, so where's R? R plus S, 139 plus 41 equals 180. So those also add up to 180. So now it says, our conjecture is, if parallel lines are cut by a transversal, the same side interior angles add up to 180. So remember we had alternate interior, which were equal to each other. Now we have same side interior, which add up to 180. All right, lots of terms going on. Okay, part C. If the measure of angle 2 is 67, what is the measure of angle 5? So let's see. The measure of angle 2, wait, I'm not even on the resource page, am I? We're over here. Oh my gosh. Here we go. So it says if the measure of angle 2 right here is 67, what does 5 have to be? So remember, 2 and 5 are going to be supplementary angles because they're right next to each other and they're on that straight line. So if we take 180 minus 67, we'll get what 5 is. And I got 113. So 5 would be 113 degrees. Now it has this algebraic equation thing going on. So now here's the algebraic equation. If the measure of angle 6 is 4x plus 23 degrees and measure of angle 4 is 3x plus 17 degrees, find the measure of angle 6. I'm going to show you what I did. So we know that the measure of angle 6, where's 6? And the measure of angle 4, if you add them together, we get 180 because those are same side interior angles. So what I did is I put those two equations together, 4x plus 23 plus 3x plus 17, and set it equal to 180. Now I can easily solve for x. So if I combine like terms, 4x and 3x gives us a 7x. And then I made a boo-boo here, but 23 plus 17 is 40. I put 50. So it's 40. 7x plus 40 equals 180. Subtract a 40 from each side. You get 7x equals 140. Divide both sides by 7. X is 20 degrees. So that means that if you plug that 20 back into each equation, you will get the measure of angle 6. So actually we just need 6. So if we plugged in x, 20 for x right here, that'd be 20 times 4, which is 80, plus 23 is 103. So that is our lesson today. Lots of different types of vocabulary, but we will continue to study these as we go along. See you in the next one.